I'm John Reginald Black, pastor of Campbell Chapel A.M.E. Church. I've been the pastor here, the senior pastor here, for 3 years.
I'm the steward pro tem of this wonderful church, Campbell Chapel A.M.E., and I'm also an elected official of the town of Bluffton.
So I'm Cappy Wellborn-Harrell, and I have some roots here in Bluffton and Hilton Head from growing up, but moved back here only about 4 years ago. I kept driving by this chapel, this historic chapel, and was enamored with it. And I didn't know why. I just would drive by and think that's a beautiful space.
My name is Beekman Webb, and about 15 years ago I was involved with a survey of the church here for possible restoration at that time. So that's, plus of course I've been aware of the building for many years.
I met an architect the other day that had just moved down here, and we were talking about our architecture, and he worked for the Corps of Engineers, and he asked me what I did and what kind of architecture, and I said churches, golf clubs, residential, that sort of thing. And he said, "What's your favorite building?" I said, "Campbell A.M.E. Chapel."
Besides being the oldest church building in Bluffton, in Old Town Bluffton, is also, it's rare. Historic buildings are becoming more rare all the time, and Old Town Bluffton, that's what it's about, is historic buildings. So it's very important to maintain every one, but especially one as important in so many ways as this one.
Bringing it back to its original state, what also speaks clearly to the time and the place, and bring a lot of awareness to the struggles.
When I look at the vision of restoring the chapel, the first thing that comes to mind is that we're not merely restoring a building. We are restoring culture, and we're restoring a heritage. Many of the folks who worshiped in the historic chapel remind us that we lost something in the transition. We lost a sense of unity, we lost a sense of community and family, and we want to restore that and put it back where it was as we move forward to minister to the present age.
We don't have many historical buildings, so that's why it's so important to save this one. When I designed the new church, I utilized the facade of the old chapel to put on the street side of the new church. So if you'll go to the street, you'll notice that it's the same scale, the same three spaces, 4 columns, the Georgian style, plus we use materials in the new church that were updated from the materials here. This is more or less a Gothic structure with the vertical board and batten siding, and we repeated that on the new church to make them relate.
So anyway, in 1874, 5 of the white elders of the Bluffton Methodist Episcopal Church sold this church to 9 former slaves. And the people I sat in the fellowship hall with were the descendants of those slaves. And so, yeah, I've got goosebumps. I get them every time. And every time I tell that story, the people I tell it to get those goosebumps, because this is a structure. it's a beacon of faith that I do not believe a similar story is known in maybe the entire Gullah Geechee corridor.
It's a very unique building. It's very much tells the story of Bluffton. It tells the story of African Americans from the 1800s. And this is something that I think all of South Carolina would be proud to preserve. And I believe that having this building preserved gives us a chance to not have to say we wish we had, because it's like a one-way street. Once you go down that road, if you lose that site, you can't go back and revisit it.
Many people have this. Bluffton has this building. We have this building and another church, and they ought to be saved. And it's part of Bluffton, and it is Bluffton. So we've got to save it. Yeah.
When we look just at the building itself, it has a wonderful importance to this whole community. Not only have 3 different cultural groups worship there, but all of us are invested in that building. It will become a wonderful part of the Gullah Geechee corridor, but it'll also be a wonderful part of the Bluffton historic community and the Celebrate Bluffton community. I think all of us will find that this is a resource and a treasure that will bless us financially, spiritually, morally, and in any other category or arena of life. We look forward to that particular process taking place, not just for the financial impact, but also for the cultural impact in our community.
When doing restorations of any historical structure, it's a very costly undertaking, and we can't do that without having partners or buy-ins. And there have to be, in most of your restoration of this size and magnitude, you have to have grants, and you have to have individual buy-ins to support that costly endeavor.
Well, I've been involved with historic buildings most of my working life, and I liked them and cared about them before that. So for me, it's just any historic building that is lost is a big loss. And so this is really an important building, and it's still restorable and basically in pretty sound condition. So this is a great one to focus on and restore.
And my role is fundraising, and there are many ways that we'll be able to raise money. The town of Bluffton has offered every space they have for us to be able to hold anything from a fish fry to a barbecue, to do the grassroots fundraising. We can write grants. There are town, county, state, and federal opportunities for grants, and even more for African American structures than there ever used to be, which is quite lovely in our country. History is important to all of us, and it's especially important I believe, to us in the South. We are linked to our roots deep. This, for me, could become this beacon of faith for the community, but it may become a beacon of faith for the country.
Time, wear, and tear take a toll on that building. And every day we delay in restoring it, we'll find ourselves putting more money than we would have. Good money after bad. So the sooner we get it done, not only will it be cheaper, but it'll be more serviceable to us. And the quicker we can move forward. So I encourage everyone to give, not grudgingly nor of necessity, for God loves a cheerful giver.
I'm just so excited that we're going to get to this building now, because we've been standing back and kind of waiting. So now we can get to it and get the job done.
When we look at generations behind us, frequently we make comments about what they're not aware of. My children, although they've studied it in the history books, don't have a feel for the civil rights movement. They didn't grow up in a segregated South. And some of the things that went along with that, which were not negative but positive, the sense of community, they don't have. Part of restoring that building is to allow the next generation to have that history that's missing. Now, we want to get rid of all of the negatives of society, but we want to capture the positives and bring them forth to the next generation. It's also important for the next generation to have a hand in this project. I like to call it skin in the game. They need to own the future. And to get to that future, we need to restore our past. So I'm encouraging our young people to spend time in the historic chapel and to invest their time, their talent, and their treasure in restoring or resurrecting our historic chapel.